All right. What's going on, folks? You're surely here, Papa Goat. You know, as always, I interview a few goats in the show. We're trying to keep the show as I could say, I guess, as goatly as possible. But of course, every time, every now and then, we go social, so we can actually see what's going on other aspect when it comes to like social issues we having in this country with young people. But today, we have the honor and privilege. If you know who I'm going to introduce because you probably saw my page. But as always, it's an honor to have entrepreneurs to come here, different entrepreneurs from different career, different path, so we can really understand how the American dream works because it's all about pursuing your dreams on whatever your desire is. But as always, the show will start right after this. All right. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Today, we have the one and only Brendan here in the house with us. And if you don't know who Brendan is, I'm going to let him introduce himself very, very soon. But let me just tell you, this young man is somebody I met, I think, like a couple years ago. And the moment I met this guy, you can see in his eyes, it's just fire. Like, can nobody tell this guy no? Like, he's gonna go get it. But today I have the honor and privilege to interview him. I do see him as an icon in our community, and especially what he has going on in the music industry. He is an artist. He's also an entrepreneur, and he has his own whiskey out there. And this is the show called Wine and Whiskey Wednesday, and we actually have a CEO of a whiskey company here. But Brendan, without further ado, my friend, thank you so much for being here today. I know right after this you actually have a show to go do in Nashville. But thank you for your time coming here today and give us a few minutes of your time. But tell the people a little bit about you, Brendan. Tell a little bit of background, where you're from originally. Go ahead, take it
Yeah,
away.
yeah. I appreciate you having me on here, James, and being able to be a part of Goat Nation. It's funny because you're Goat Nation. I'm Hoss Nation. Anybody that doesn't know me yet, you'll see that for a long time to come through a lot of these ventures that you kind of touched on that we're going to get into. So, my name is Brandon. Last name is Bing. I grew up in Central Florida, in Wekiva, and I went to Lake Brantley High School. For anybody that's watching here, that's from the Florida area or Central Florida area, I went to Rollins and Florida Southern College. My background was originally, based on economic theory and finance and agricultural business management. And then, of course, after school was over, then dug into the real world and, was able to put my hands in a bunch of different fires with the irons, keeping them hot, with going into solar, learning that industry. And then, of course, like you mentioned, the whiskey and music. So, being a songwriter also been a big passion of mine. And I get an opportunity to do that, as an adult. So I'm super blessed with it.
Awesome, man. I mean, appreciate it. And one thing I want the viewers to know, Brendan is not a regular guy, So I'm going to give you a little bit of story.
Uh,
I remember.
all right.
So I met Brendan through a friend, right? And Brendan is the CEO of a solar company. So I start working with Brendan with his company, and I remember he was training me. So we driving. I think we was driving to coming from Tampa from an appointment, and out of nowhere, he like, man, listen to this one, listen to this one, and he starts singing. And this guy is a country boy, and I love it. Like I want you guys to know, Papa Goat, don't let the look fool you, man. Like when I first come to the United States, all I listened to was country music. And don't be judging me, okay? I love country music. I even got my brother to it, by the way. But anyway, before we get into all the country music stuff, I want to speak about your company. You have your solo company, and of course, you and I, we briefly spoke earlier. It's a very successful company. So tell us exactly, how you start that company, what's going on right now, and where is the future of the company?
Yeah. So, that's it's a very, loaded question, I guess, because there's so much that went into the process of, building it from the ground up. Like I mentioned earlier, I got into solar. I actually didn't think I was going to go into solar. That was not anything that was on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
The way it all actually came about was this. So my background was in finance and economics primarily. I worked in banking since I was at Lake Brantley. I was in an intern program back in the day. It was called the HIP program. high school intern program at Washington Mutual Bank before they got bought out by Chase Bank. And then I was also part of a group. I was the president of my chapter for the state of Florida through high school for an organization called Business Professionals of America. And that gave me an opportunity to work with a bunch of my peers in school, being an active athlete as well, playing sports, and then just also being in different, honorary societies through, my high school education. I was constantly, just always have my hands in different things, trying to figure out, who I am. I think everybody doesn't really have the full identity until they really, get through all their high school. And then really, obviously when they get into college, they really uncover a lot of things that they may not have known about themselves. The 08-09 housing collapse took place during the whole Fannie Mae Freddie Mac situation, where there was basically, for anybody that doesn't know what that was there was a bunch of people that were lending money on homes where they shouldn't have really had that house, because their income really didn't substantiate the cost of the home. However, they got the homes, all this money and all this paper was moving because it was a booming business at the time. The end result was, a tremendous amount of people across the nation were impacted by going into either, defaulted mortgages or going into foreclosure. And so when that happened and the housing collapse took place, then the economy tanked. It went into a recession, at which point, I had opportunities at UBS and some other major, financial companies for, brokerage and getting into the mercantile market, which is where the ag came into. I didn't want to be in the stock exchange. I wanted to be in the mercantile exchange, working with raw materials, working with, farming and ranching, and working with, local, produce and farmers around the nation to make things more accessible to people on those future markets. But with again, with the recession, that didn't make much sense. A lot of capital and venture capitalists, angel investors kind of pulled out. A lot of money was being reallocated overseas. As you notice, a lot of major big, Fortune 500 corporations and other businesses, they were moving their workforce over to places like, India and China. They get cheaper labor, they could get lower cost of material, and ultimately they could keep a bigger margin. Because in business, anybody that's an entrepreneur, no matter what you guys are doing for your business, doesn't matter what the industry or sector that you're in, you need to keep in mind that you have to have a certain percentage of net margin to be able to grow and expand, right? Anybody can start a business, anybody can sell something, but if it's not going to allow you to make progress and continue to grow, then you're going to plateau, and inadvertently it could cause you to have a domino effect where the business can fail or collapse, right? So I was like, what am I going to do with this education? Like I said, I was a very well versed in my financial background, at which point, I was able to, I actually did an interview down by Malia, that was a business to business, opportunity where I was basically going to knock on corporations or, smaller local businesses on certain city blocks downtown. I was not a suit and tie kind of guy. I used to always get in trouble when I was working in a bank as a high school student, even in college, because I would always take my tie off. I'd always roll my sleeves up, unbutton my top, like when I was in the in the teller line or working at the table opening accounts. And I never understood why like that always bothered me. Like if it was church, it's one thing, but when it came out to the regular life, I didn't like that. And anyway, I remember being reprimanded many times, and I went into this interview. And I see all these guys and gals around my age all trying to go for this job, and they're getting hit with the numbers, being told, "Oh, you're going to make 100,000 plus a year. You're going to do this. You're going to score." And it was just like feeding them a whole bunch of dreams of things that are really not really practical, without a lot of overall just skill. You got to really dig deep and build a customer base, a pipeline to really make those types of numbers. You're not going to come right out of the chute and make that, unless you're just like, a prodigy, right? So anyway, I looked at the guy, I got through the interview, they offered me the job. It was basically going to be doing like concession stuff inside of like break rooms, like paper products and, vending stuff and first aid kits. And I was like, I'm not literally I did not go to college to get out of college to push toilet paper and, hand like small pack foods and gauze and band-aids. I'm like, if I want to do that, I could go work at the grocery store, work at the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, where am I going to go with this? So I declined the job. I walked out. Everybody thought I was crazy, and I went to the solar outfit up in Sanford, Florida, and went in there. And the guy that had hired me, he basically discouraged me from the job. He's like, "There's a lot of driving you're going to do, so on and so forth." And it really opened my eyes because he was trying to prevent me from doing something I saw opportunity in, and that, I guess, perked my interest. You know how they always say, you know, basically in relationships and anything in life, something, some things that you want, if you can't have it, then you want it that much more. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing when you're in a relationship. You do that whole cat mouse kind of chase. So it's like the same thing in business. So I was like, 22, 23 years old, trying to figure all this out. And I came back and I was like, wait a minute. He literally grinned me off, telling me I'm not going to get this job. I left. Like 10 minutes later, I came back through the door and I was like, I'm working here. He told me to be there the next morning at 8:30, which I was. Um, Learned solar over the next 3 years. Had the opportunity to go from being a regular sales rep to becoming a manager, and then ultimately became a regional manager. I was in charge of 4 offices in Florida at the time: Sanford and West Palm, um, Fort Lauderdale, and also Tampa. And then I wound up being promoted to vice president, and I wound up also opening an office in Plano, Texas. I learned so much there in a short amount of time about renewable energy. I really became a big advocate of it. I was always an advocate of green energy because of farming and ranching, just having that prowess. But I didn't know it was possible to have it as a career. And then so at that point, I met one of my best friends, Steve Lorenz, who is my business partner, and he was working with me. Me and him used to. He was on the service install side. I was on the sales and the PR and finance side, and it was kind of like a perfect yin and yang. You know what I mean, James? So I was like, at that point, I told him, I was like, we can make our own business. We can do this 10 times better. If I could tell anybody that's watching this episode or watches it later, make sure that if you have an idea, when they tell you these simple things in life, and I'm 33 years of age right now, 33 years young. And I know in the last 16 years of my life, since I was 17 years of age, where I've owned businesses, because that's when I first started my first business, I've learned so many different, you know, things from so many different people, mentors, people that have failed, hundreds of times. And I've just taken little bits and pieces along the journey and applied them to my personality, applied them to my outlook and my philosophy. You know, make sure I maintain my integrity, my ethics, my morals, and always be transparent with my customers and any also potential, business relationships I have as well. And write those things down, prioritize them, make sure that you give yourself a punch list. Those opportunities are very obtainable, but you have to believe, and you got to be, more importantly, you got to follow through with it. A lot of people have a tendency to um, think of something and then they back away because they get scared. The reason why they're scared is because they've never done it. Well, I mean, once you do it and then you fall a couple of times, you know what to expect. So then you become more adaptable. As you become more adaptable, you just get stronger and stronger day in and day out. And that's what's really happened with me and my partner Steve in this venture. We went from 2 guys in 2 trucks. Um, Man, his old lady was pregnant, having their first child. They had just bought their first house. They had they had 2 dogs, and a little bit of land, and they were trying to build their home. And I was living in an apartment with my old lady at the time, and it turned into a very stressful situation starting this business because people were, there were so many people that were trying to derail us from the existing, company we're at. And they were just trying to pigeonhole us, prevent us from leaving because they knew that we could do it, you know, and that was a fear. That's why they were trying to hold on so hard,
Competition.
and they weren't supportive to, they weren't supportive to me wanting to grow and be something bigger than what they were. And that's one thing I'll tell people, man. Like, I don't care what you are, who you are, I don't care what your end game is and your goals in life, but when it comes to business, you need to surround yourself with people that can inspire, and the mentors or your bosses, they provide you tools and resources that allow you to capture your highest qualities. And they should want you to work for them for either one or two options. Either A, they want you to work as long as you can and climb the ladder if it's available, or be within a position where you create an additional extension of the ladder that maybe wasn't there. So that's where you have people that hire within and create new jobs within the company, right? And those are like your tenured people that are there 20, 30, 40 years, like back in the day when you would see people at, big financial firms or places like certain hospitals or logistic companies like FedEx and UPS, where they stay for a very long time, right? That doesn't happen as much anymore in society. I think that's primarily because there's a lot of greed, and I think there's also there's a lot of selfishness when it comes to trying to help other people see what's ahead. So when you position your employees where they feel that they're not just appreciated, but they also are given these tools to help them keep growing, you're going to find that they're naturally going to want to stay where they're at because their environment and the chemistry is so strong and they see the long term opportunity. However, when you try to trip people up or you try to do things to persuade them that's something out of what they really want, then that's when they want to flight, and they want to go somewhere else, and you lose that quality employee that was building tenure. The other person of a boss is the one that will provide those tools and be happy that they moved on because then they know that they built, someone that's a winner, right? And I always, as you know from working with me in the past, I always contributed a lot of things to sports. Um, Indianapolis Colts are my football squad. Peyton Manning was a great quarterback for many, many years on the Colts franchise. Came out of college at UT, and had an illustrious career. Won a Super Bowl, but he constantly was working on the whiteboard. At Chalk Talk, always doing stuff, at watching film at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. He was always doing everything everybody wasn't willing to do to exceed the expectation and to make sure his team could be carried to victory. The one thing I always valued about the Colts franchise with Polian and Jim Irsay and all them as owners and GMs was the fact that the Colts has always been a team where talent was always developed. We've never been the team that's always been, like the steel curtain, like the Steelers, or, having the dynasties like you see that was with the Bears or with the Patriots, things like that. But we've always developed great talent, and those players put up great numbers, many of them of which have gone to the Hall of Fame, many of which have gone to other teams and won Super Bowls or have hit other accolades, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something to say for the franchise, and that's something to say in our conversation this evening about business. Have somebody that's an owner that is trying to help you pull the greatest qualities out of yourself to be the best that you can be. And if you pay attention to that, then they're always going to be there to be that ear to listen to give a listening ear, and also provide you additional feedback and stuff. They're going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly because they want you to be the best. And we've done that, and I've had a lot of retention with our employees. We went from 2 guys and 2 trucks that were doing what we were doing, going 3 months without a paycheck when we started our business. I pulled my mom out of corporate America, who had been in there for 20 plus years doing a corporate job, and she wound up coming, being with me for the last 6, going on 7 years now as a bookkeeper. Bought a good friend of mine, Jeremy, brought him from being at a job making probably anywhere from like 18 to $25,000 a year. Brought him into solar when I was at the other outfit. Then he followed me over and followed my business partner Steve over to our company when we started All American Solar, and he was our first install partner. He was out there, working hand in hand with Steve. I was out there pounding the pavement, getting referrals, knocking doors, going to pre-existing customers, trying to find a way to build this business because I knew I had everything on the line. I had my business partner, I had my mom, I had Jeremy. I had a lot, and I also had their families on my shoulder, right? So, we worked day in and day out, man. It was getting up at 5, 6 on the road, coming back at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, doing it again for 3 months plus straight. Brought a couple sales guys in there. Had our first install crew by the fall, full on. Make a long story short, fast forward, went from first 4.5 months, $780,000 in revenue. Then we steadily climbed every year. We've never had a down year in 6 years. We did almost six. We did 6.84 million last year, and I think we're on track to do somewhere between 8 and 9 million this year. And once we hit that 10 mark, it's how do we get to 20? And now we're sitting there with 28 employees. A fleet of trucks with 12 vehicles on the road. Every day between service, full-time install, quality assurance, sales guys. And we're in our process right now opening our first office out of the state of Florida in the state of Georgia. So a lot of things that are on the horizon. There's definitely a lot of hard work, a lot of chaos, but I think the chaos is good chaos. And man, that's kind of where all that started, and that's where we are right now.
Interesting, man. I like how you elaborate on everything. All the three questions I asked, you actually answer all of them. That was pretty cool.
Mhm.
So, what would you say your growth is? An average about 20% and the margin growth per year? Or would you say it's
No,
a little bit more
actually,
than that?
no, way more than that because I mean, like I said, year one it was 4.5 months, so it wasn't a full year, but we did
Sure.
780. Year two, we came out of the gate at 3.6 million.
Mm,
So, to be able to go almost 500%, that's not common, in that accord. But we did, and then we went from there. The next year we were at four. We were at 3.83. Then we went to 4.2, and then we went to 5.6, and then this past 6.84. And so just to be able to keep that trajectory, keep that climb consistently moving,
mm-hmm,
um, it just kept growing. And pound for pound, we would just bring on more employees,
mm-hmm,
create opportunity. That's the thing where it gets kind of tricky because you have a certain amount of money coming in and you got to keep reinvesting money back into the business to get it to the next level. So how much money of your capital that you have in your liquid assets can you reinvest in outside of your overhead expense, and also making sure that all your employees are keeping consistent level income and they're getting their increase every year,
mm-hmm.
you know, because you want to see everybody win as you're winning. It's not just one side. It's not like, oh, the two owners are, sucking, draining all the blood out of the beat and keeping all the cash. It's, we want to sit there and me and Steve take as minimal as possible. We probably, I mean, realistically, 100% of the revenue that I generate for the business goes back into the business. I don't even, I don't even pay, unless it's certain like overhead or assets that we're acquiring.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even pull any money to our personal selves from any of that. So
Mm.
it's physically going back into equipment. It's going back into new trucks. It's going into apparel. It's going into home shows and garden shows, and different trade show expos. It's going into making sure our guys have we do an employee match with a 3%, give them a simple IRA for retirement plans, which is unheard of because you don't really see small companies providing
Mm-hmm.
retirement programs for their employees, where they're giving that as well as a 3% max match out. So those are things that add value to our employees. I think give them a level of validation to know that they're in a spot where if they were to ever leave, obviously it would be sad to see them go, but we know hopefully that's a better opportunity. But the reason why they're not leaving is because they know the opportunity that they have is just going to get better. And they know if they went somewhere else doing the same thing or similar scope of job at a different type of industry, they're not going to make the same money, because of the fact those other entities just on the averages don't pay like that.
Mm-hmm.
But because we do have incentive structures, it gives them a limitless, ceiling. There's no ceiling on them. They can just whatever they put into it, they're going to get out of it. And that's probably the coolest thing to see, man, is watching them grow, watching some of them get married. Some of them have kids now or had their firstborns. They're building their dream homes. They're traveling, going on vacation. They're taking care of themselves. They're taking care of family members that are ill. Like it's so much more than money to me being an entrepreneur, because I'm looking at this of, man, I'm creating opportunity. I'm, helping something environmentally with this product. I'm working with friends and family members. I'm helping my community. I'm working with organizations like the University of Florida. We built an endowment fund, and seeing those new students have interest in wanting to learn about renewable energy and just business as a whole, and protecting local farmers, and reestablishing a dying breed is super cool, man.
Man, that's such a beautiful, very inspiring to hear you put all that together. Because I remember when you was working on that deal with UCF, you actually was telling me some internal aspect of the deal, and I know you are currently, you have a strong relationship with UCF. Now, one thing I kind of picked up, man. I'm gonna tell you. I know last year you got nominated for your American your album. I believe the song was "I Am American" or "I'm American."
It was. Oh, you mean the? Are you talking about the one that the award or?
Yeah, the award over. I think it's from Celeb Secrets.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That
They
was
did
on
a
that
whole
one.
article on you, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm linking together. I'm a crazy guy, man. I'm very weird. So one of the reason I love your company is because of the name. And if anybody follow my content, you know one thing. I'm Haitian, I'm from Haiti, but I have a lot of respect for America. I always say it's not the perfect country. We have our flaws here. However, it's a great country. So
Sure.
when I went to meet you, the number one thing that caught my attention, man, was the name of your company. And you probably didn't know that. And I talked to my wife about that. All American Solar. And one thing as well, you always put the precision when you explain the product. Hey, this is all American made, right? You
Right.
always say that to your client and you educate them. I see that under training. And also, not only coming from the name, the article they wrote about you was American. I'm American. That makes sense. So there is a
Hmm.
consistency on how you view the country. Now,
Right.
I just want to ask you a question. Why? I mean, I know you. I mean, when it comes to like you a diehard cowboy, bro. Like you a country boy, man. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the countryest man that you can ever find somebody. But tell me how exactly what does America mean to you, man? As an entrepreneur, you having a business, you are actually a country music singer, you're an artist. Tell me what America means to you, bro.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's just you know, I use the word community a lot
Mm-hmm.
because we could go all the way back. I mean, we could be here all night talking about this. It's
Of
like
course.
1776, you know, and looking at our founding fathers and looking at the Constitution and looking at America, as a whole, it's a melting pot. You know, you have all these political viewpoints, you have all these, different situations going on in different channels in the media right now that are causing a very aggressive or trying to point out fingers at different groups, whether it's religion, race, sexuality, etc. Um, at the end of the day, the premise of what our founding fathers put in that doctrine was to establish the land of opportunity. People came from all over the world and still do, because so many third world nations around the world, which are so horrific to their own people, you know, amongst their own people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a what people don't understand it, and that's a level of ignorance of people that don't have knowledge in U.S. history, and and also in world history, is most of the really horrible things that happen are taking place in a lot of these other nations amongst their own kind. And we're one of the few, if we're one of the few nations that really focus on trying to give people as much chances available to them, or tools available to them, so they can create a better opportunity for their family. This country was built on small business and enterprise. It was built on connectivity. It was built on communication. It was built on communal celebrations of people coming together and celebrating different monumental points throughout the year, um, not just holidays, but seasonally, to showcase you know the true heart and soul of what they stand for. Having jobs here where we have raw materials and we can create some of their greatest technologies, create some of the biggest innovations, have some of the best research, um, and having the melting pot of all the different cultures allows us to be able to have so much pride in being able to intertwine with each other on so many different levels. And that's why you have so much success, is because there's so much diversification. It's
Love it.
not one sided. I'm a minority. So, and I come from more than anybody, I come from a family that's, on both sides of the totem pole. I come from black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So being a minority, seeing both sides, when people try to make things racial battles and they want to talk political, all you're doing is taking away from the bottom line, which is how do we find solutions? What is the next opportunity? How do we keep, how do we keep moving forward and creating progress to get to the next benchmark goal and keep climbing until we can get that pyramid to get to the top and stand tall together? You know, uh, that's what American is to me. American is a can-do attitude. In my music as a singer songwriter, I have a lot of an outlaw vein and a lot of the lyricism. I have a lot of that storytelling, I guess that Americana singer songwriter Texas Red Dirt kind of vibe. And I got this outlaw fusion because of the rowdiness. But when people hear me and they see me, the way I'm talking to you now, the way you met me, nothing has changed in all these years that I've known you. Nothing has changed in my delivery. Nothing's changed in the way that I handle my customers. Nothing changes with the people that are viewing this video right now from this episode. You know, People need to see one thing: true America and the people that are at the core of our society have one thing in common, and it's a word that has been missed for many, many, many years and is being lost in translation, and it's called authenticity.
Hmm.
Be authentic to yourself. Be proud of what you come from. Be proud of the things. That whole psychological perspective of nature versus nurture. You're developed at home, but you're a product of your environment. That is the key to all success. Is the key to all opportunity. Is the key to all relationships, because all those things are, again, the melting pot of what we actually become, who we identify as. And again, that has nothing to do with political, has nothing to do with
Mm-hmm.
color, has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with sexual preference. It has to do with being a human being, because we're all God's children, and it has nothing to do about which God you praise to. It's the fact that we are mortal beings on this earth with a purpose of how do we fulfill everything that we want to accomplish in the time that we're given, because that biological clock is not determined, is predetermined. We don't have control when that expiration date is.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get married or have kids or have animals, whatever it is that our path is, what legacy are you going to leave behind for the next generation to be able to look up and be inspired by it, to make them want to be innovative or make them think outside the box and be the next visionary, be the next face of something and grow, right?
Mm.
And those things are, to me, that's the root of America. I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, it's just like,
I love it,
how do
man.
you how do you just be the one that, no matter at all costs, you put it all on the line all the time.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you touch a lot of points, and I really like the way you speak. And I just want to put another comment, and then when it comes to you talking to your employees, even though we transition to talk about what America means, you bring your culture, because I
Mhm,
actually remember going to your office. It's like a whole lot. It's a whole family.
mhm.
When people come in, it's like everybody knew you already. So I have to say, man, it's I do see you as an icon in the community for what you are doing, and also providing jobs and helping strengthen the economy and changing people's life. Because of you, people are taking a paycheck home and they're getting married, like you said, and it's such a great thing, man. And we need more people like you. Um, so definitely, what I want you to speak about right now, and I know we about 30 minutes on. I know you have about 30 more minutes before you go to your show. Is really your career in music. Your career in music, and I know the first time I met you, as we were driving down, you made it clear that you were a country boy. You love your country music. So
Yeah.
now you get to really, now you're in Nashville right now.
Hmm.
you're performing, left to right. And I remember last time you were supposed to be here with us. Last minute thing happened. You had to go do a shoot. Like, I know it's
Yeah.
crazy for you. So tell us a little bit right now. What is it like on the music industry and the music field for you? With your performing, and also how do you manage to actually still run the business,
Hmm.
and then do music, which is what you really love.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I've done music my whole life. I've done it since I was, 5, 6 years old. I went from doing cello. I was classically trained on cello, and then I went to doing percussion for about 8 years as well. I did everything from, regular snare to, concert band and jazz, and we did what was it, xylophones and marimbas. And then I did a praise band in church, and I did African hand drums. I mean, I did it all. So I had a lot of exposure to a lot of different tools in music. I played when I was trying to get my seat in concert band in middle school for being a drummer. The band director wasn't going to let me be a drummer. He wanted me to play brass, so I had to play trumpet, and I just hated it, but I did it. I was like, my lips don't, I was like, I don't know how to, whatever. But I mean, I did it for a little bit, and then I was able to get by it. And he gave me one opportunity to do an audition, and I nailed it. And then after that, then he was like, okay. So I got into drums again, or was back in drums. And then when I went to high school, it was all sport. I was a writer since I mean, I've written forever, but I was really writing since third grade. And then when I was in high school, I really, really, took off writing. My junior year, when in the Florida writing exam, I was the top 1/10 of 1% of writers in
Wow.
the state of Florida. And then my senior year, again, I was top writer. So, I had to be able to have that opportunity and get that recognition and get the that certificate that led to my academic scholarship when I went to Rollins and Florida Southern. My dad gave me an opportunity. He was in the music business. He was a DJ when he was at Purdue University, and then he worked for CBS Records under Al Schumann, Clive Davis, which was turned to Sony Music. And my dad saw everything. His vinyl collection is ridiculous, and I just was exposed to so many different genres from jazz to blues to funk and pop and rock and metal and country, and I mean just everything. So I was able to really let myself be immersed and find the things that made me feel a certain way, uh, how the music touched me emotionally and connected with me. At which point, then my parents gave me the option. They're like, you can go to college and go 4 years in this, or if you want to do music or something else, then you got 12 months to get out of our house. And it sounded good to get out of the house because I was like, yeah, I want to do this, and uh, but I didn't. I went to school, and I think that was a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to build my business first. Most musicians go the pathway of they go out, they get out, they drop out of high school, or they get out of college, or or they just whatever the case might be. They early on, like between 18 and 22, 23, they're hitting the music pavement. For me, uh, I went and I kept doing music after college. From 18 to 28, I was singing open mics at the Barn in Sanford. I was singing karaoke at every place or any place that had an open mic in town. Uh, and I just kept honing in on the craft, but I didn't think it was going to go any further because I was in the real world at that point. And actually, a buddy of mine, Vinny, brought me to, we were up here in Nash back almost 5 years ago. I was at CMA Fest, and I went to the CMT Awards, came out, and I went to Tootsie's Famous Orchard Bar and Lounge. And when I was at Tootsie's, I went in there and I was just having a good time drinking, hanging out, partying with everybody. We're just having a good time. And then all of a sudden, he took a $20 bill, went up to the house band that was playing that set because Nashville on Broadway. Broadway's like Disney World. It's 30. It's like 30 plus bars, and every bar's got 3, 4, 5 stories, and there's music and bands and solo and duos and on every single level, all day long from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
It's I mean, hundreds of acts play a day, and it's just tremendous. And so I got up on stage. I did a Jason Aldean Big Green Tractor cover, and the crowd erupted after it was done, and they loved it, and it was just cool. And we went to a Sam Ash, and we were staying at the Omni Hotel across from the Bridgestone, and I remember grabbing a pop filter and an interface and a microphone and a deflector and a stand, and he brought his laptop, and we went back to the hotel room, and I started making music that night. And fast forward, till now, I got man. I mean, I write every day. I've never stopped writing over all these years, but I really write every day now. And I got, my first single, Sunday Funday, came out in 2019. I had my Florida Man EP came out with 6 songs in 2020. 2021, even with the pandemic, I dropped another, EP, Dying Breed.
Mm-hmm.
Have 13 songs out. I just cut 8 new ones. Got a bunch of new music. Actually, I cut 9 new ones. I got 8 coming out and another solo song that's going to go out by itself. But I'm about to have 22 songs out there to the universe, and I just got my first big award this past was it last month, and it was I got noted for out of 15,000 writers, International Singer Songwriter Association. I got the award for Songwriter for Album of the Year.
Wow.
So yeah, so that was a big opportunity as an independent artist because the only other thing that could be bigger than the ISSA for me would be getting like a CMA or a Grammy, or ACM, or have an opportunity to play the Opry or the Ryman Auditorium. Like those are kind of like those milestones but that's just once you get to the level of that's more radio based.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, but still, man, just to keep the grind alive and to be able to share stories and write from the heart. And um, I feel like everybody calls me the storyteller. It's like I'm here to be the voice of sharing these songs through the unspoken truths, all the things that people don't know how to put into words, all of the uncomfortable things that people don't know how to say that they want to say, and I'm that kind of I'm that voice of opportunity to make these men and women feel understood and accepted and give them hope, knowing that there's something that somebody out there like myself is understands what they're dealing with. And man, that's really the whole reason why I do the music is I want to be able to connect with every person that I possibly can.
Man, and so much passion in your voice, man. It's you can tell you're doing that with your heart. I remember I checked up on you during the pandemic, and we was in the phone for like a good hour, just having a
Yeah.
nice conversation.
Hmm.
And you was actually writing a song. You had just wrote that song, and you told me the story. And I'm actually having goosebumps because I'm thinking about it. And you start singing it over the phone. So
Yeah.
you were a guy like can nobody tell you what to do. You that type of guy. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like when you want to do something, you just go ahead and get it done
Yeah.
because it's crazy. Like I remember Kobe before Kobe Bryant passed away. We was I mean I was blessed enough to be in the same room about maybe 4 months before that whole unfortunate situation happened. And he was telling the group that he literally become a storyteller. He even joke about when he took his kid to school and they asked for the parent profession. And then the wife said, well, baby, you don't play basketball anymore. What do I say? And like, well, but I'm a storyteller. So just put that in the application. So he made a little joke about it. But storytelling is so powerful. And I feel like a lot of people neglect it because they don't know its true foundation. Because if you think about it, everything we are today, a lot of it has to do with stories. A lot of it. You look at the history book, it's a whole bunch of stories. You look at even the Bible, the very first, it's a whole bunch of stories. Now I'm not getting too religious, but I'm just saying
Hmm.
stories is part of our culture. And
Hmm.
somebody like you, I'm glad you actually doing what you do because you're really good at what you do. And now you have a career as a writer, singer, and you're doing all these great things. Now before the last thing I want to touch today is of course this is Wine and Whiskey Wednesday, and you actually the first entrepreneur that actually has his own whiskey out, and I
Yeah.
have in the show. So there is always a first to everything. So First, we're talking about the solo, then the music. Now, you're CEO of a whole whiskey brand. So tell
Yeah,
us about that, man. That's pretty exciting stories, bro.
yeah. My mom's from Kentucky. Bourbon is in my veins. Like, I love my bourbon. I love my whiskey, um, and I always wanted to have a whiskey, or specifically, I wanted to have a bourbon. But you have to have the whiskey to get to the bourbon, right? So, um, I was like, man, if I was going to do it, it was going to require a lot of money, and it was also going to require a lot of commitment of time to do it, where I wouldn't be able to do nothing else.
Hmm.
So, like I said, instead of doing music first and being the stereotypical broke musician, I built my business with my buddy. We provided stability for both of our families. And then, with the money that I put away, I was able to maintain that lifestyle and invest in the next opportunity, which was get into the music to the level where I am now. And then as that started to gain credibility, then I was also able to go and, create a window of opportunity to make the whiskey, because now I had something where the platform made sense, because as a country artist and a songwriter, country music and whiskey just go together. Honky tonks and women and whiskey and all that. It's just it's a lifestyle. Rodeo, um, and then also I do a lot of stuff with our military and our blue collar. So it's just they're all again different extensions, different arms of the total umbrella, right? And um, it was like the perfect opportune time for me to tie that in. So I started a whiskey company. I built it up. It's called Bangtail Whiskey, and Bangtail. For anybody that doesn't know what a bangtail is in Western rodeo, saddle bronc riders ride in the arena. They come out the chute, and they're riding and they're flapping back and forth as when they're on the rope, right? So they're saddle bronc, and as they're hitting, and the horse, the wild Mustang horse, is bucking and rearing, the tail is hitting them. Bangtail. So the
Mm.
bangtail name. Now in English riding, there's an event called Hunter Jumper. You have gates like in arenas, and the horses jump over the gates.
Hmm.
You have these cross, they're like this cross beam like poles, and the horse can't control. It can control its jump. It can't in its gait. It can't control its tail. Right? Like I mean, its tail. It just kind of moves voluntarily, right? It just
Hmm.
voluntarily moves. So, the they crop or dock the tail, um, and it's cut straight across like a tassel, or in this case, it's called a bang tail because it assimilates the straight cut of a tassel on a female's forehead on a bang on her forehead. They
Mm.
gave English riding horses in equestrian the bangtail name. So I
Hmm.
hit both demographics of people, different type of riding environments, different type of socioeconomic. English riding is predominantly a richer sport. Western rodeo is not, I don't want to say poor man, but you know middle lower class.
Hmm.
It's just not as those horses don't cost as much usually. So that was where that came, and then I wanted to really refine the presentation of the product by making a premium product. So it's a 90 proof sweet corn mash. It's a corn liquor, so it's like a moonshine, but it's a straight whiskey. So it's got a number 3 American white oak. It's got a caramel spice, no artificial flavors, no artificial sweeteners. It's got a corn-based wheat. It runs with a number 3 American white oak with a medium char, so it's got a smoky flavor in the middle, and it runs through 3 inch. It runs through a 6 chamber 3 inch continuous still. It's all handcrafted. All the ingredients are locally sourced from local farmers around Florida. It's bottled. It's American made again. And just with me, like everything I do, our solar company, to my music, to my whiskey, to Hoss Nation, it's all
All
one
American.
collective brand. It doesn't matter if you know me doing solar music, whiskey, or what. Anybody that knows me and finds it, it's all going to attach. If you go on all my websites, if you go to bangtail.com, if you go to brandonbingmusic.com, if you're going to see the tones and the moods and the colors and the contrast and the palettes all those things are going to intertwine. So you're going to feel like you're in the same experience. So when you see it from Facebook to the website to Instagram to YouTube, any platform, Twitter, you're always going to feel like you're there in the same environment. You have never left Hoss
That's what's
Nation.
up. That's what's up, man.
And that's what it is. And we do a thing called the holler and swallow. You hold your drink up on the count of three in Nashville. You 1, 2, 3, you holler, and then you swallow. And because I do so much with blue collar individuals, then I came up with the blue collar swaller tagline. So Bangtail whiskey, blue collar swaller, uh, and I'm building a line of I'm doing a clothing line as well that I'm putting together with my Hoss Nation and my whiskey as well. So there's a bunch of stuff coming. And yeah, man, it's exciting. I went from being in one outfit in Florida. I got picked up by Total Wine. It's at Total Wine in East Colonial and Millennia in Orlando. It's at the Altamont Springs, Daytona, and Jacksonville. It's at Easy Liquor
Mm-hmm.
in Sanford. And for anybody that lives out of state, they can go to Easy, the letter E, the letter Z, liquor.com, and they can buy the whiskey and ship it to their house anywhere in the country. So that's cool. And then I got picked up by Atlanta Beverage Company for the whole state of Georgia. And then I just recently got acquired by the whole state of Tennessee from Athens Distributing, which I'm going through meeting. I got all my licenses, but now we're getting ready to, Georgia and Tennessee, we're going through this fall. We have a bunch of meetings coming up to talk about soft rollouts and then hard rollouts for, the end of 2021 as we go into 2022.
Amazing
And state by
opportunity.
state, we're just going to make it happen.
Wow, that is amazing opportunity, man. You never stop. This is the only. This is one of the
No.
quality I love about you. You
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
stop. It doesn't matter what time it is. You always got something going on. So, Brendan, I just want to say thank you. For being here with us. Thank you for being a role model in the community and setting a great example for young men, young entrepreneurs. Out there to act to actually have a great path to follow. Now, I always
Mhm.
do this before I go, before my guest leaves, is imagine there's a little boy out there, or a young man, young woman, and they have big dreams. And let's just say they're 15 years old, 17 years old, still in high school. They have big dreams and they don't know how to start. They don't know how to feel. They just know they have dreams and they want to accomplish them. So here you are, being where you are right now, 33 years old. What would you say to that 15 to 17-year old as a way to, make sure that he or she understand that what kind of work they have to put behind the dream to make it happen so they can be where they want to be in life?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, and I say this all the time, I'm one of the biggest procrastinators I have been over the years. And I found that as I've gotten busier and busier, and as I go into more ventures, business wise as an entrepreneur, um, you have to have a schedule and you have to have organization. So write it down. If it's in your head and it's just here, it's not on paper. So put that on paper. Let that manifest and turn to what it's going to turn into. Prioritize, write those things down and keep writing things down as you got ideas and start trying to eliminate the things that, as you grow 15, 16 years, I didn't know what I was going to be. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. Messed up my rotator cuff. That wasn't going to happen.
Mm.
I thought that I was just going to be some like corporate guy, um, and you there?
Yep, yep.
So that's why I thought I was gonna be like some corporate person, and that didn't happen. And so like out the gate, I thought I was gonna work at like some big like finance company or be some like international business person doing, like I said, the mercantile thing. So then it turned into like I said, I wrote this stuff down, and then as I was growing and maturing, then I started really seeing where I wanted to be and like what meant something to me, what I had passion for. Write it down, find your passion. Write it down, find your passion. Let those two things intersect. At the end of the day, if I give you one piece of advice, if it's not your passion, don't do it. Because everything that I do, I'm passionate about solar. I never thought I was going to do it, but when I saw and I learned about it and I saw how much importance it had to me with environment and with businesses and residences and and also just, animals and just all these different things that it tied into. These are all things that were meaningful to me. And I love working with people. I love communicating with people. I love listening to their stories and hearing their experiences. So that's why that became what it is. And that's a passion. And the passions of working with people, I get to do every day because I meet new people every day. When you work
Mm-hmm.
for me for a brief period of time, you were at different houses, different businesses. There was always something new you were going to walk into.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whiskey, I love my whiskey. So it's passionate, being able to come up with the formula, work with my master distiller, bottle it, package it, design it, how I was going to present it to the public, what it stand for, what the name was. Like, it was so easy to make those things happen because it was a passion,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that it could be something that I was proud of because I love whiskey. And to the music, I love telling stories. I love, getting detailed and connecting with people. And I love seeing their eyes and their hair stand up on their arms. And I love seeing them like cry, and I love seeing them dance. And, I love the energy and the roar and the clapping and the applause. And it's a passion. So find your passion, stick with your passion. I don't care what anybody tells you. They can tell you, oh, it's a bad idea. My dad told me, it's funny. I was telling him, we talked about this the other day. I told him, I said, you told me when I was going to start my solar company, you do a few $100,000 and, you'll do good. And then all of a sudden in the first year, I do 2.5 times what he thought I was going to do. You see what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
from there on, did he ever have anything else to say? And that's my dad. I love him with all my heart. But the point is, you know, he wasn't doubting me. He didn't understand because it wasn't something he was pursuing because he's not passionate about it. But that's okay. I am. And because I am, like you said, everything I do, it just keeps going. Never stop. Never stop. When people ask me all the time, James, do you ever sleep, Brandon? I say, yeah, I can sleep when I'm dead. Right now, I'm alive. Lost Nation, baby.
Straight up.
That's
Man,
what it is.
let me tell you, man, I can't wait for you to come down to Florida. And I don't know when we're going to make it happen because, this is insurance season. I'm in the insurance industry. But we definitely got to go hunt someday, man.
Oh, come on. We got to get some
Oh,
hogs.
oh, my God. We definitely have to do that. Definitely have to do that. Now, let me tell you, the last time I actually was in the woods was probably back in Haiti, man. Okay, probably back in Haiti, like like years ago. But anyway, I look forward to it, man. It's a great adventure. I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun, and it's something new.
Yeah,
So definitely after entrance season, definitely got to get together and go hunting, man. So
we'll
I,
do
I,
it.
I say that in live so
I'm
people
looking
can
forward
hold
to it
me.
because now, when your season's over, that's going to be the prime time for small game and hog season.
Okay,
Springtime it is, baby.
so that's perfect then. Let's do it. All right, man. Well, once again, Brandon, thank you so much for being a guest today. And it's such an honor to have you. And I know you have a show to go to very soon.
Yep.
I wish you the best, and
Appreciate
not that you're gonna need any luck, but
it.
like I said,
And have some
man, it's
fun.
it's an honor to have you, and God bless you, brother.
Hey, appreciate you, partner.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Okay, you too. Bye.